Cassandra, thank you so much for being here today. I'm so excited we have this time to actually sit down, chat about your brand, about Clean Living Magazine, and I want to get into the crux of a little bit more about who you are, because you have been doing so much over your life, your career, as far as wellness goes. You have your own story with wellness, and I really want to hear what that is about. I want to hear what that's about. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. I'm glad we finally found time.
I know, exactly.
I've always been in beauty and was modeling. I was like looking in magazines at a young age and would replicate pictures in a magazine of like Britney Spears or whoever I looked up to, and I would copy the makeup like at 9-10 years old, just with my fingers. I would just find whatever color cosmetics at the store, and I would replicate it, and I would take pictures, and I was like doing it before it was ever called a selfie. Like I was always really into, it was like it's an art. And so I fell in love with makeup. I knew I wanted to do something in that space. Like by the time I was in high school, I was doing everyone's makeup for prom and all of that kind of stuff. And I was modeling in Seattle. So I was living in the peninsula in the Pacific Northwest, and I would travel into Seattle for like working on like fashion shows or whatever. I mean, It's not a big fashion modeling scene in Seattle, but wherever I could get my foot in, I like loved to do that.
Sounds like using your passion and doing it wherever you could get your crooks into it.
Yeah,
sounds like.
And that's where I learned, like, when I would get compliments on my makeup, I would be like, oh, I'm a makeup artist. And if someone would say, oh, you're really pretty, I'd be like, oh yeah, I model. So I would put them together. And so the day I turned 18, I had saved up money to move to LA. I knew I wanted to pursue modeling and acting in a bigger way, and also go to beauty school. So I went to school in Hollywood in like 2010 and studied under Margaret Kimura, who worked on Audrey Hepburn, Tupac, like a lot of the OGs. So that got me working in Hollywood really, really early. I got to work on a lot of big productions with movies and music videos and TV shows. So I got like a full scope of what that looked like. And obviously when it came to movies, I was like, okay, I didn't want to be, I knew that I didn't want to do that because the days and the hours and everything was too much. So I naturally got into weddings. It was like early mornings, weekends, like small, quick jobs, because I'm a quick person. So I liked meeting 10 people in one day. And so naturally it was models and brides. And naturally there's a lot of money in wedding makeup. So
yes, I can imagine.
That's where I kind of started. And then I toured with the PGA. The European tour, I traveled around the world. We did about 64 countries in a year. So all of the Middle East, Africa, obviously the UK, Italy. And
when you were touring to these places, you were doing makeup for the women PGA stars? Okay.
Yeah. So at a time, 75 golfers go out to Mauritius, Africa, and then a week later they're in Thailand. And so we would travel around, but during that time, out of 75 men, there would at least be 5 or 10 with birthdays, or they'd have their families come out for whatever other occasions. So there was women on tour constantly that were wives and girlfriends of the golfers, and they asked me to come on. I was dating a golfer. I met all the girls on a ladies' day. They have them every Wednesday. So naturally, they were like, you should contact the PGA and like do this on tour. And I was like, I'll just contact the PGA. But I did, and I got a letter the next week, and they invited me to go on tour.
Wow.
So they vouched for me. So
That's
it was really
fantastic.
cool. So I got to literally tour the world, which was like a dream, childhood dream, to go and see all the places and do all the things. And so when the year was up, they were like, do you want to go again? And I was like, not if it's to the same places. Like, I just did that.
Right.
I don't even know where I'm at right now. Because it was a very fast lifestyle.
So let me ask you, and and I know the fast lifestyle seems to fit you because you're very fast and you do a million things in a day. I want to hear more about how that played a role in what you're doing now, which is wellness, which has a lot to do with a little bit of contradictory of slowing down and being mindful. But I love that you bridge the two. I love that you bridge wellness with makeup and doing everything you love, and that's really what is important these days, is doing what you love. Do you feel like that was something that happened right away, or do you feel like that took time to be doing what you love? And are you doing what you love?
Yeah, so there's two things. Like, you know, in 2018, I was diagnosed with an autoimmune condition, several, in the same week. So partial vision loss, so I still have to wear glasses when I drive, and psoriasis on my head, which they told me was a lifelong condition. And at 24, I felt like that wasn't true. It didn't run in my family. I knew it was something more than like environmental or something I was doing. So I detoxed. Products I was using in my home were causing me this immuno allergy. So my eyes would water and itch. My skin would get red and inflamed. I'd get in the shower, get out, and my back would be all red and bumpy and itchy. And I thought I was allergic to my own hair. So I put my hair up. But I found out it was my shampoo and conditioner.
And how old were you at this point? This was
24, 25.
Okay, so that's
just
really
about 10, 11 years ago.
Yeah.
And so in 2018, after 3 days of I put everything in a big box, all my makeup, my skincare, my candles, my perfume, my air fresheners on the wall, anything that, my laundry detergent, when I started looking at the labels, it was in everything. So I was like, okay, the industry that I have built my life on is making me sick, because I was breathing better, I could hear better, I could see better, all in like 72 hours, because I wasn't putting that on my skin, on my body, breathing it in, and sleeping in it. And so I didn't even have deodorant. I didn't have answers. I just knew that I couldn't use all the things that I naturally reached for many times a day, and that I was using on all my clients. So by this time, I had 100 weddings that year in the Bay Area booked. I had a team of about 15 women. We would go to the weddings 7 to 8 a.m. We would be at another wedding by 10, 11 o'clock, and I would be doing 4 women an hour, like 20, 25 minutes. And we were in rooms where there was just massive amounts of hairspray and makeup flying in the air. And I would leave, and I was just, my eyes, I would go home, and I was just overwhelmed. So my husband was like, are you going to go back and do that again? Like, if you know that that's making you sick? And I was like, no. So I made the decision to put on my website that I wasn't going to be basically working and until I figured out what that looked like. So,
and how long did you stop for? How long did you stop kind of working for, or at least in that capacity?
Permanently.
Wow. So you stopped working permanently because this health stuff really forced you to take a halt.
Yeah, I didn't have alternatives. So in 2018, when this happened, my husband said, well, you know what you should do now? And I said, what? And he's like, well, you can start a podcast that you always wanted, and you know what to call it. And I'm like, what? And he's like, Clean Beauty. And so I was like, oh, okay, well, let me look it up and see how many other shows are like about clean beauty. Looked it up, nothing.
Wow.
So
it's right there in front of you, just presented to you as meant to be.
Because there wasn't any information on it. There were articles, there were some brands, there was Juice Beauty, there were brands that had curated products around that idea. There were stores starting to come out, and it wasn't a buzzword. It wasn't really anything. There was no laws. I mean, I went through all of that.
So you figured out all the laws, all the logistics around this to create this brand.
So the Cosmetic and Fragrance Act was enacted this year.
Oh.
So we lobbied. I joined Beauty Counter and went to DC to have bills passed that would protect citizens in the United States, because there wasn't a cosmetic regulation passed since 1938.
Interesting.
So Johnson & Johnson had major lawsuits because the talcum in the baby powder caused ovarian cancer in women.
Yes.
Many women died because as babies, this baby powder is put on their genitals, and so it got inside, and then it would cause the cancer. So that's like one great example that a lot of people don't really understand. Like, cosmetics are not regulated, and you think about alcohol, we have warning labels that say, and we have regulations of how old you have to be to know, like, I'm going to drink this, it's a risk.
Right.
Smoking, there are big labels and graphic photos showing you what happens when you smoke. We have the FDA to regulate our foods and drugs.
And you would think if they're regulating that
for cosmetics.
Right.
So to find that out and then say, wow, think about all these other people that have health issues. Of course the show blew up. Of course I was able to build a community around all these other people that were like, me too. Like, I've had this issue. I didn't think that it was my cosmetics. I've been on allergy medication. I've been dealing with psoriasis. I've had autoimmune conditions. Like, you've helped me heal. And so
you've basically given them their life back, essentially, because it can be so debilitating.
Yeah.
Right.
So through telling that story and having the struggle, it gave others their voice and power back to not use medications. And the one big question I kept getting over and over is, when are you going to have an event and show us all the new clean beauty that, like, you're a professional makeup artist, like celebrity makeup artist, like, when can we meet you? And like, you have to, what are you wearing now? Like, because brands would send me so many products, like, because they all were pitching me to come on the show.
Right.
So my house became a PR haven where, and to this day, get a lot of products to evaluate. So naturally, I became a Clean Beauty Awards judge, a Glamour Wellness judge. I became a speaker and a panelist at major events, and working in pharma markets with Newtopia, and becoming a judge to award brands funds for their companies even. So
how powerful.
Really interesting.
Yeah, very interesting and powerful that you've had the chance to actually help enhance lives and not only change your own life, but change other people's lives. So I want to ask you some questions around when you were younger, and this is the question that I ask all of my guests on my show. What was it that you really wanted to be doing as a child? I know you started this off really young and you were doing makeup. What was it that inspired you? What was it that made you feel like you were living your soul's purpose? And do you feel like you're living your soul's purpose right now? Is there anything else that you want to do in the future that's on the horizon?
When I was really little, I knew I wanted to be a doctor. But that fizzled out pretty quick. Art was always my passion, and in any form, like whether it was painting or drawing or writing. Like, I'm a huge writer, so podcast naturally even now is like so much fun for me because I can write, and produce my own content. And so as a creator, it's like I get to create storylines and angles and shots and doing all that fun stuff and curating teams. And after all this time, all these conversations that I had over the years with so many people on the show, and also even from when I was behind the camera, always doing makeup, even like just all the conversations over time, naturally I was always giving advice, whether it was solicited or not. So it was like, okay, there's something here. And a couple years ago, this doctor was like, well, can I book more time with you? And that was when I realized, oh, this is a business. I didn't know, like, I never thought of, I'm a consultant. I didn't think, oh, I'm a coach. I never thought of it that way. So I was like, so I created a booking link for her to book time to literally just talk to me to strategize. So then I was like, whoa, mind blown, because I've always been doing it for people. It's always been part of what I do because I want to solve problems and help people and connect people, but I was never I wasn't offering it as a service. I would never thought about it. And so that a couple years ago changed everything for me, because then I was able to like hyper focus on now I'm a strategist, and then going into every situation, like what problem am I going to solve? What person am I going to help? What person am I going to connect? What brand am I going to connect to? What store or boutique or retailer or investor? And then having that all in my mind so I definitely feel like this is what I was put on the planet to do, for sure. It's taken a while to get here, but I feel like I definitely figured it out, because I could do this all day, every day. I love it. Having the media components is like just a bonus. It helps people find me. It helps other people connect. It's curating events. My mom was she had a party store. So I grew up in the store, you know, whether it was blowing up balloons or setting up tables and chairs. And I had the best birthdays, because we had popcorn machines and cotton candy machines and horses and whatever. I had the best birthdays. And I always loved that. I loved people coming together. I loved people coming for me. I loved the entertainment, and whether it was putting together gift bags or curating what the schedule was going to be, I loved that. So naturally, over the years, when I was asked, when were you going to host something, the Clean Beauty Retreat was featured in Forbes and sold out in 2020. So that was my first, this is also a business. And who knew, like I was asked to host it. So it's it all came full circle of like, that was also like something. So when you look at my website, there is a lot, because we have experiential events and activations, and we help build things for brands and businesses and people for launches and all of that. But then there's the strategy, which is like consulting, whether virtually or in person, and the connecting part. So that's part of what I offer, is connecting people to each other. So curated introductions. I think there's nothing more flattering than getting introduced to someone that you know, like, and trust, to someone else that you know that you need to be connected with. So that has actually strengthened my business. It's been one of my superpowers, because I lose nothing. I have everything to gain. Now these two people are connected, and I don't even remember. Like I'm like, I'll introduce them at an event. They're like, you introduced us 6 months ago. We've been working together. And I'm like, I forgot.
How rewarding is that? In all the stuff that you've created, and I can see firsthand how everything is interwoven. You know, it seems like one thing has led to another that just kind of opened the door for another thing, like the connecting and connecting other parties together to make a difference in the world and get parties involved in other aspects of your magazine. What would you give for advice to women, especially women entrepreneurs, who are in the crux of making it and they're struggling and they're having a hard time striving? Maybe you can think back about a time that you had a tough time at a go at it, you know, and you were really trying to make it. What advice would you give them?
So I learned a couple things about wanting something and needing something. Like, there's a huge difference. And so when I wanted to have a beauty company, it was really hard, because the world didn't need it. No one asked me for it. I thought I was creating a solution, and people had commented that they didn't know how to apply the lashes, but there's so much more that there was already products out there that were in that realm. So when I think about my successful businesses, like, I don't even think about Lash Binder as a failure. I think about it as a lesson, an experience, because I learned a lot from that business.
And Lash Binder was one of your companies that you started after you were doing the makeup artistry.
When I launched the show.
When you launched the show.
I did it in tandem.
Okay.
If I think about the show and the magazine, it was out of a need. It was out of a struggle. I launched the show to get a front row seat, to learn more, to interview people, to learn about clean beauty, because I didn't know. It was a little selfish, but it didn't exist, and it needed to be there because I needed to understand. Even if no one ever listened to the show, I just wanted to be able to have those conversations with other experts and learn about beauty in that way. And it was so fascinating because I'd get to talk to scientists and then formulators and then doctors and chemists, and I just learned so much about beauty that, you know, I was just using it topically. I didn't know about all of that. So it opened up all these doors and Pandora's box for me, where it became super fascinating to learn about ingredients.
So the different and the things that you've learned and the research that you had to do led you to basically the platform you're at now, as far as being able to offer great advice, it sounds like.
Yeah. So all the places where I was really struggling, I created businesses around them. Or I had a really bad experience, right? Like I got diagnosed with an autoimmune condition, so I started a podcast, and it gave me, you know, I had a lot of time on my hands because I wasn't working, so that made a lot of sense for me. And then with the magazine, I was actually screwed over by an editor and charged a lot of money to be on a cover of a magazine that was said to have a large reach and all this credibility, but it turned out that that was not the case. And so when I found out that, you know, I had essentially spent a lot of money and resources and time and a team to curate this photo shoot and do this magazine cover that really had no professional distribution or readers, I was like, you know, and it was many, many years of saying no, and I finally said yes, and it was very disappointing. And I had recommended that a lot of my current strategy, like clients, also do the magazine. So we were in it together. And when I found out, I had to tell them, hey, I found out that this doesn't have the readership or the reach that what it was told to us. And I was talking with another editor at the time, because I at that time I already had a media company, so I would refer out my clients to get other press, you know, articles and things. And she said, well, why don't you just have your own magazine? And I was like, oh yeah, I really have time for that. She's like, well, I can interview, I can edit, I can publish it. We have global distribution. We have 2.5 million readers. You just send me everything that you're doing now. Keep sending me your clients. I'll do everything. You just pay me and we'll publish the magazine. You can be the creative director, approve everything, make sure everything's correct the way you like it, and then you can have a monthly publication, you can have a annual publication.
And when was that? That was
That was in March 2025. That was earlier this year.
Okay.
So we launched it at the Oscars, Oscar weekend, and we did our launch and had about 300 attendees. The founder of Coachella came out. We had like a lot of big media come in to cover it. And
that must have been amazing. How did that feel? Did it feel like a pinch me moment?
yeah, it was really amazing because we highlighted 40 different women-owned businesses. I had privately started a fund and raised about $100,000 and was able to allocate it to give to all the businesses that came into LA. So we flew them all in and gave them space. We rented a $64 million estate and had them activate for 3 days with a retreat kind of woven in so that they could grow, launch, and scale their businesses. And a lot of them I had equity in, you know, and I really got into advising in that way because people would come to me, they wouldn't have the funds, so I would take a piece of the company in exchange for the consulting, which was also a new strategy that I really loved, and they did too, because they had nothing to lose, really. And so I was able to do the marketing, add them in the show, get them in the magazine, get them that credibility. Then we created a magazine seal to also give that added credibility that they could add to their website, their products, and it was like my name with the magazine, giving them that stamp of approval that they were clean and woman-owned and all of that sort of thing.
That's fantastic.
And not charge for that. So we did a big campaign around it, and now in in December, we have our second really big launch. So this is our fall winter edition of the magazine. It'll be a we'll have 2 a year.
Okay.
Originally we were going to do 4.
It's a lot of work.
It is, and my clients with consulting come first, and 4 events a year, major events, are much more difficult than 2 when you want a spring event and you want a winter event. Like, I always have a holiday. I used to call it Friendsgiving. I used to always have something around the holidays. It's like my favorite time of year. My birthday's in December. So my husband's birthday's in December. So I naturally want people, and you're going to holiday parties anyway. You want to gather at that time.
Right.
It's dark and it's cold and it's wet.
It's cozy. Yeah.
And so this year we're doing it here at Camus, Rutherford. And it's very exciting that we were invited up to Napa to help Napa grow and expand and connect. And so it's been so much fun to be able to do that in a new community, and to be invited to new communities has just been fantastic. Like, to do it in LA and then to do it here, because that's where I went to school. I learned to drive. Like, LA will always have a special place in my heart. And now living in Silicon Valley, and then being in the Bay Area, Napa has just become a second home, which has been really cool. And having so many like new friends and like down to earth people here.
It's a great community.
It really is.
What is a missing link and something that you've said to yourself, I really want this, maybe you put it on a vision board, maybe it's been a goal, something that you feel like has been your next step that you've been desiring to take, something that you want to take the business? What's your dream big moment that you hope to reach in the next 5 to 10 years?
I feel like it's been a struggle, like keeping my show. I've kind of gone back and forth with it. So we're teasing a radio kind of aspect, a radio show to essentially bring more reach to the people that we highlight, to our collective community. I think I am living my dream. Like, I feel very blessed to be able to say, like, I don't have something that I'm like, oh, I'll be able to do that in 10 years, because I really can do whatever I would like to do now. I think obviously it would be great to have a larger fund so that we can help more small businesses and grow out the agency so that we can help more brands and people, because it's really sad to see so many fail. Like, unfortunately, there are brands you'll never hear about or you never even know about, but I work with them for 6 months and then they went under before they were even in the world. So that has been tough to watch my friends, they become my friends, and to watch them essentially fail with their dream. A lot of them are in tech for their whole life, and then they decide they want to retire and start their side company, and without the resources, without the funding, it's basically impossible. You're up against the big guys in every category.
What's the biggest learning experience you've had in that? I'm sure there's been many, but if you're up against these big players, is there something in particular that really made you kind of move the needle, that you learned the hard way?
Yeah, community and strategy. Like, until I had my own coach, until I had my own mentor guiding me, before I knew that I was even going to do that, like, once that happened to me, I was like, oh, but I had already brought on and hired my own personal development coach, mentor. I never called her that, though. To me, she was just like a friend I could entrust in, that I could ask, and that she always seemed to have a lot of answers, even if she would ask me questions back. Like, it's not like she had the answers to everything. It would be like somehow the conversations would lead me to my answer. I think that's the best kind of coach you can have, is like, it's like a good parent. They let you figure it out on your own, but give you the tools to do it. So that, and then and the strategy woven into that, and then community. So moving to California and not having family and friends, you have to start over everywhere you go, and
I can relate to that.
yeah. So, being on the PGA, I naturally had to form, and it started with photo shoots where I had a model, a photographer. I would build a little mini community wherever I was, so I didn't feel alone. And, you're in a lot of hotel rooms by yourself, and so I would build myself these shoots like on Instagram DMs, and it's naturally expanded. Our event coming up has 250 of attendees, right? I can do that is one of the skills that has been a life skill. I actually didn't have a normal family dynamic. I didn't have a father in the picture. My mother left when I was about 13. So even in my own home, I didn't really have anyone. So I created. I would text everyone. I had a pager, and I would get all my friends to come over to have a community.
Wow.
And even my neighbors.
Wow. So you built your family. You built your extended family that became your family.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you figured out a way to basically reinvent yourself in the way that you needed to thrive in life and business, it sounds like.
Over and over again.
How powerful.
In every community. And now in Napa.
Wow. Congratulations for that. And in this realm of recreating yourself, I know today we're putting on makeup, and there were affirmations that coincided with the makeup colors, which was pretty cool to see that palette.
This is a new makeup brand out of San Jose. She reached out, asked to be part of our retreat and soiree. So she's a new young beauty founder that just launched her collection. And it has a lot of that. And I went and tested it all. And then I brought it out for our shoot to, just support her and implement it and let everybody get a sneak peek. I think it's so important for people to be able to say, when they meet her, oh yeah, Cassandra, that's part of that connection,
right?
Like getting the product in front of them, like you got to wear the athleisure from Mary, who created Reprise athletic wear. Shoes, we got to wear the shoes from Sunday Souls. Holly's flying out from Chicago with her family, and her birthday's that weekend, and it's such a special time for her already. And so to be able to connect people and do it even beforehand with their products and services is so much fun, and
a win-win for everybody, really, which is great. Everyone's getting to benefit for the products, and then you get to showcase the products. Who is the affirmation behind your inner dialogue? Because we had the affirmation with the makeup, and where you shared, you had these missing pieces growing up. Who was your inner voice? Who guided your inner voice?
I made a lot of mistakes. I didn't have a guide. I always envied people that had people that they looked up to, where they're posters of somebody, and they were obsessed with someone. There wasn't an inspirational person that I looked up to. I really actually did love Britney Spears and Christina Aguilera, not the best role models with the way they dressed eventually, right? All those things. But they both, So I loved the music, the creative. I was attracted to, how did she do her hair like this week, and then how did she have it long? Learning about extensions. I got into that. That was the attraction to me, and the music videos, and understanding the light and how they did that, and the dancing. So I tried that. All of the fun, artistic, creative stuff. And so naturally, yes, beauty and fashion has followed me through and through.
Would you say that built you up and gave you the confidence to who you are today?
For sure.
Excellent. Yeah. Powerful.
Absolutely.
Well, I'm looking forward to your event on December through the 14th here at Camus at the Car Club, the Napa Car Club, and wish you the most success. And thank you for sitting here and doing this interview. I think we've had some great inspiration the last couple of hours through our little extravaganza, your wellness, and it was a great day, and I look forward to seeing what comes next for you and how this event turns out. It's going to be a success.
Yeah, if anyone's interested in joining us or contributing, CassandraMcClure.com, just go to my website.
Perfect.
And we'd love to hear from you. Find me online, social media, any at Cassandra McClure, anywhere. and it's me responding. I love to connect with people, so reach out. So we're a 14-person all-female team. We do everything from branding, event production. Danielle's our lead designer and co-event producer for this event. We have our own influencer team. You met Valentina today. She's one of our newer. But they all have their own brands and businesses, and that's what's so powerful about our agency. Like, they have their own things going on, and I'm supporting them through all of that, and then they're supporting me. And I think that that's what a real collective is all about, is encouraging and sharing, and not having a limiting belief mindset around whatever it is you're doing, because when one boat rises, like a rising tide lifts all boats. Like, you really truly rise with everyone else, and you might not see it, it might not make sense, but it's just like making an introduction. You're like, well, what am I going to get out of that if I do that? But it's like, it could be tenfold the next week, it could be the next year, but they're going to remember that you did that for them.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. The rising tide lifts all the boats once one goes up. How beautiful. Well, thank you so much. This was a pleasure. Thanks.